We'd like to welcome Boetie. Boetie is the manager, one of the managers of the hunting affairs in South Africa from the SA Hunters Association. Boetie Kirchner, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Mohammed, and good morning to all the listeners.
Thank you so much for your time, Boetie. How's everything your side, Boetie?
No, it's going very well, thank you. I'm out in the bush, so it's going really well.
Yeah, I can just imagine. Every time you're in the bush, things go very well. We're going to talk a little about your hunting, your recent trip hunting, where you guys shot a buffalo as well. Firstly, before we talk about that, let's talk a little about SA Hunters. We know it is a member organization. You guys have many, many members on board. We have many branches across the country as well. Tell us more about SA Hunters.
Yes, Mohammed. SA Hunters is a member organization, as you said. We have about 44,000 members currently, and we have 83 branches distributed throughout South Africa. So there should be one close to you wherever you are. And at our branches, we strive to host activities for our members, be it older members, younger members, even our junior members. We have a very good shooting training development program for our juniors as well. We do conservation. We are involved with a lot of conservation projects. We do hunting. We do correspondence with the government regarding legislation for game meat example, for hunting proclamations, and so on.
And how does a person become a member of SA Hunters?
It is fairly easy. You can do it online. You can apply. You can go on to our website at www.sahunters.co.za and apply as a new member. We're open to all members of the public that are interested in hunting and conservation.
What comes with it, Boetie? Once you become a member, anything special you guys are giving? Free impalas, a kudu shot? What are you giving free?
Yeah, unfortunately, no free impalas or kudus, but we do a lot of services regarding your firearm renewals and applications. We have a good backup system for that. And as I said, with our branches, we host a lot of activities for our members.
What about the applications for guns, rifles as well as handguns? Are things looking better than what it used to look at in the last few years, Boetie?
Yes, it is currently functioning a bit much better than it did. I myself handed in a new firearm application about 2 months ago.
Yeah. I
at least received the SMS that says it's in progress, so hopefully they'll keep me updated soon.
Yeah, lovely. Any questions we have for Boetie, give it to us, send it to us on the number 072-786-1548. Boetie, with regards to hunting, it's so important that, we take care of the firearm when you go hunting. It happened to us as well, all of a sudden sitting on the back of the bakkie, a shot goes out unintentionally. Luckily, nobody was hurt. Maybe you can tell us, Boetie, with regards to firearm, how dangerous is a firearm, and what are the 4 golden rules when handling firearms, especially in the bush?
Yes, Mohammed, let's start with how dangerous is a firearm. A firearm is basically only a tool. It's no more dangerous than the hammer in your toolbox. A hammer cannot jump out of a toolbox and hit you on the thumb. Just like a firearm, it cannot shoot itself. So there must be a person involved. And that person, when he sticks to the 4 golden rules of firearm safety, a firearm is actually a very safe tool to use. The first of the golden rules is handle all firearms as if they are loaded. Even if someone hands you a firearm, make sure that that firearm is safe and unloaded, especially when, like you say, on the back of a vehicle, or if you're climbing through a fence and handing a firearm to another person. Then the second golden rule is never point the barrel at anything you don't want to shoot. So even if you have a shot that goes off, nobody could get injured because the barrel is pointing in a safe direction. Then point number 3, probably the most important one and the biggest cause for accidental discharges on firearms, keep your finger off the trigger. Yeah. If you don't pull the trigger, the firearm can't shoot. So that's if it's a good functioning firearm. Then number 4, very, very important, identify your target and know what is beyond. If you are not 100% sure of what you are aiming at, don't pull the trigger. Also know what is behind your target and that the bullet can be absorbed, for instance, in the ground. A friend of mine always says you must bury your bullet. So when you shoot, always make sure there is a backstop, something that can catch the bullet to take the flight out of a bullet. For instance, a ground or a tree behind or something, and never shoot at anything standing on a skylight on the horizon, because if a bullet goes through the target, you don't know what is behind, and a bullet can travel for several kilometers. So bury your bullet, make sure you shoot in a safe direction.
Yeah. Just a question, Boetie, when you guys are hunting, okay, yourself and your team, once, you guys are sitting on the back of the bakkie waiting for the impalas or the kudus, what normally happens? Do you sit with the gun loaded, one up with the safety on, or how?
Yes, Mohammed, I prefer the walk and stalk method, so we drive around on the vehicles with unloaded firearms until we spot some animals. Then we get off a vehicle, load the firearm, and then stalk up onto the animal. So that is the safest way to go about it. There are some areas, for instance, the wide opens of the Free State and Kalahari, where the guys may use a vehicle to shoot from. Keep the gun unloaded until you identify the target. That is the safest way to go about.
When you do the walk and stalk, and you're walking in the bush looking for the animals as well, if you are a team of 2 or 3 people, are there any rules or any guidelines as well there with regards to gun safety?
Yes, if I take, for instance, the professional hunting scenario like I did this week, we normally have a tracker and a professional hunter and the client. So if we're just hunting plains game, the client is the only one carrying a rifle. And when we get off the vehicle, he loads the rifle, puts it on safe, and he carries it in a safe direction, never pointing it at any part of the crew. So that's the important part. Never take too many guns along when you're walking in a group, just to enhance the safety.
Yeah. Boetie, you guys have been hunting for many years. What would you say, the Limpopo province of South Africa or the Northwest? Which of the two is the premier destinations in the world to hunt the impala and the kudu?
Yeah, for impala and kudu, it will probably be a combination Northwest, Limpopo, and don't throw away KwaZulu-Natal.
Oh.
And even the Eastern Cape has a lot of kudu and impala. So with the game industry developing over the last couple of years, the distribution of wildlife is much different than when we were young guys. So, yeah, most of the areas of South Africa do have kudu and impala, and the preference lies with the hunter, whether he wants to walk and stalk in thick bush or shoot at long range distances in open areas.
Lovely.
When a person wants to get into hunting, you want to visit the different places, the different destinations. What are the different types of hunting destinations that are available here in South Africa? And of course, what's the process like? Is there any documents that are needed when visiting or when hunting at different destinations?
Yes, there's definitely different types of destinations. As you said, let's start with a normal one. In all the provinces, if you hunt on an exempted farm, which means it has a fence around it and the owner has a certificate of adequate enclosure, then you normally don't need a hunting license. But there are provinces, for instance, the Free State, where you must always have a hunting license. So this sounds a little confusing, but I'll get to the different part now. When an area is fenced and owner has a certificate of adequate enclosure, it means the animals belong to the person and to the landowner. And when you're hunting on an area that doesn't have a certificate of adequate enclosure and is a low-fenced area, the animals normally belong to the government, and there you always need a hunting license. So, in other words, a permit, eh? Yes, a permit. And it differs from different provinces. For instance, Northwest, The landowner must apply for the permits online. They have an online system. Whereas for most of the other provinces, there are books available at several destinations, including SA Hunters head office, where you can obtain such hunting licenses.
What about hunting in concession areas?
Yeah, concession areas in South Africa, it will be basically you can obtain concession areas on some of our national parks, and you can obtain them from landowners. But in South Africa, we don't have a vast open concessions normally like they do up in Africa. For instance, if you go to Tanzania and you go into the Selous, those concession areas are on average about 400,000 hectares big. So there you need all your hunting permits and so on before the time. But in South Africa, just make sure that if you hunt on a property, speak to the landowner, make sure what type of destination he has so that you can apply for the necessary permits if needed.
Okay. Boetie, what else do you have to do to prepare for the hunt?
Yes, to prepare for a hunt, make sure your firearm is in a good working order. A firearm is just a tool, as I said, like a vehicle, for instance. It needs maintenance and you must do regular checkups. So make sure your firearm is in great working order. Never modify your firearm yourself. If you do a trigger adjustment or so on, take it to an expert. Most of the accidental discharges come from people fiddling with their firearms, adjusting the trigger too light, and then when you close the action, the trigger cannot hold the fire pin back and the shot goes off. So don't make, I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube, etc., and a lot of guys that think they're experts. Make sure you take your gun to an expert if you want to modify it. Then practice. Go to the shooting range. Get confident with your firearm. And take the kids along. Take a smaller rifle along. Get the kids introduced into safe firearm handling. And then lastly, as I already said, find out exactly on what type of hunting destination you are going to hunt to prepare for the legal documents.
Lovely. Boetie, with regards to your recent hunting trip, and I spoke to you during the course of the week, you mentioned that you guys shot a buffalo.
Yes.
Tell us more, sir.
Yeah. It was quite a nice hunt on the buffalo. We spotted the old bull. He was kicked out of the herd, so it's a lone bull. And he went into some very thick vegetation. The client, myself, and the tracker approached the very thick bush in which it was standing and on foot, and we couldn't make out the buffalo. And so we had to, I went downwind from where he was standing so that he doesn't wind us, and trying to get an open spot, but it was so dark in the thick bush that he was standing, I had to circle around the bush, and eventually we got the wind behind us and he caught our scent and he took off like a rocket. We followed him for about 1.5 kilometers. For a slight period he rejoined the herd and we followed the tracks, and after about 800 meters of joining the herd, he went off on his own again into a thick bush. We followed him, and this time we were fortunate to get an opening on about 65 meters. We opened up the shooting sticks. The client took a good shoulder shot, a nice broadside shot. The buffalo ran out of the bush. He took a second backup shot just to make sure, and it went about 80 meters and passed away. Okay. So if I can give some advice on dangerous game hunting, always use enough gun. Thereby, I'm not saying you must shoot with a 600 or 700 Nitro Express. Use a gun that you are comfortable with. Practice with a gun, and never shoot a shot, a marginal shot. So if the animal is not standing perfectly broadside, rather track it for another day or whatever. But don't take a shot that is not in a good position. You just going to open yourself up for a lot of work and a very dangerous situation.
International hunters, once they come to South Africa and hunt, say for instance as buffalo we're talking about, what do they normally do with the meat? So they come, they hunt, and what?
Yes, normally the hunt is arranged through a hunting outfitter, and he employs professional hunters that hunt with the clients, and normally it's part of the agreement that the meat stays the property of a hunting outfitter. And for instance, the current lodge I'm at here just outside Modimolle, they process all the game meat here, make nice boerewors and steaks, etc., nice kebabs, susatis and so on, and it gets utilized in the lodge. So all the meat gets used, nothing goes to waste, and even the intestines go out into the area where there are vulture feeding sites and hyena feeding sites, etc.
Boetie, there's a question here that has come through from one of the listeners saying that earlier on you mentioned about getting the kids involved and taking them to the range as well, and let them be familiar with rifles and getting them used to it. Are there any rules or regulations that need to be kept in mind when taking kids to the range? Is there anything that that a person should know before they take their kids along?
Yes, I would say eye and ear protection is very important. Let them wear safety glasses and earmuffs just to protect their ears, and then lead by example. Show them what responsible firearm handling is all about. And when you take kids hunting, this to me is a very important part. Never expose a kid to hunting unless he is mentally stable or old enough to basically do a hunt without being traumatized, if I can put it that way. A lot of kids, parents roam there on that the kid shot an animal when he was 5 years old and so on. It's actually the father that wanted to shoot the animal and not the kid. Make sure you train your kid and that you take him to the range, get him confident with a rifle before you take him out hunting. And once you've hunted or take him out on a hunt, make sure he's old enough to emotionally enjoy the hunt.
But for instance, they talk about the Cape buffalo to be one of the most dangerous of all the big five, and when agitated or wounded, this animal can be very, very aggressive and even very cunning as well. What would you say is the perfect caliber for this type of hunting? Would I be correct in saying 306 not going to work? 306 not going to work so well. Rather, a 375 caliber is adequate for a buffalo.
Yes, Mohammed, you are absolutely correct. In South Africa, most of Africa, the minimum caliber for dangerous game hunting is 375. In South Africa, it's not stipulated in our regulations in all the provinces.
Okay.
But I would recommend a 375 for a client scenario. If you're the hunter going on a buffalo hunt, for example, a 375 is more than adequate. It's a good caliber to shoot. But when you're in the professional hunter capacity, I would suggest something starting with a 4 at the beginning.
Okay.
Like a 458 lot or a 470 or something a little bit bigger, because when the hunter is shooting at the buffalo, it's normally in a relaxed state, and the first shot is the most important one. So thereafter, if it does possibly get a dangerous situation, you want a firearm with knockdown power. And even if you miss the brain or so on, it must still have enough kinetic energy to stun the animal enough so that you can get a second shot off.
Lovely. Boetie, thank you so much. So where can we get more information, or where can our listeners contact SA Hunters for more information? And your final remarks and comments, Boetie?
Yeah, Mohammed, they can go onto our website, www.sahunters.co.za, or they can contact our offices in Pretoria at 012-808-9300, and when I'm not in the hunting field, they can ask to speak to me. And any last remarks, I would just say go out, enjoy the bush, and remember, hunting is a family affair. Take the family along, and most of all, enjoy it and hunt responsibly.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Boetie. Malana, I must say, Boetie's got a lacquer job, hunting every weekend during the hunting season and making money, Boetie.
I won't say making money. It's more a job for the love of it. But I really enjoy. It's a big passion of mine.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.
Okay, you guys too.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Thanks, Mohammed. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, Malana, talking about hunting here in South Africa, I wanted to ask him also regarding trophy hunting in South Africa, but just talking about buffalo hunting jealousness, very interesting to know that, it's very, very expensive. Like somebody sends a WhatsApp message that the cost of a trophy Cape buffalo hunt is, in South Africa, could be ranging from maybe $6,000-7,000 upwards, anywhere there. And the Cape buffalo hunts, by the way, are the most popular dangerous game hunt in modern day.